A very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much for joining us this Sunday morning here on Create and Craft, the original craft channel. We have got a great hour lined up for you, and when we say Quilting Classroom, we say fabulousness. When we say the best teacher in the world, probably, we say Jenny Raymond. Hello!
What a unity! How am I going to live up to that?
Easily.
No.
Easily.
Not today.
Now, in the classroom, what
Yes.
have we got lined up?
Right, what we're going in the classroom, we're making these bags. You hold that one.
Love it.
And I'll hold this one. This is a new bag product to me. Many people who will use it for, it's a fantastic bag product because it makes such a solid, wonderful bag, and it's fusible.
Lovely.
And what I had a student. His name is Lynn, and Lynn said to me, I don't like making handles, I hate stitching handles. So I had to hunt through some old books, and I saw a bag where the sides of it actually extended to make the handle.
Right.
So basically, this is a boxed cushion,
yes,
but with a longer side
That's
on
a great
one
idea.
end.
Yeah.
So there's no handle to stitch on.
Great
because
idea.
it's all part of the construction.
Yes. Yeah.
So I thought, right, I could use this idea, so I explored the idea. Then I decided I wanted a pocket on the front.
Yeah.
And then I thought what I wanted was a zipped pocket on the inside, in here. And the pocket's been put down far enough so that no sort of hands can creep in and open the zip without you being aware of it.
Right.
And then I found this bag product, and we got these wonderful Tuscany fabrics here,
Lovely.
and the Just So ones there,
I
and
love
indeed
these.
the Teddy Boy blue ones there.
Yes.
And I thought the whole lot will make a really good.
So this is the project.
This is the project we're doing, and there is a PDF. You can download the entire
Lovely.
thing here.
Okay, so that you can download via the website, of course. You can print that out, so you've got your step-by-step guides, but you're going to see this happening live.
Exactly, yes.
So what I suggest we do is romp down the counter, and then I can go.
You can go. You can go
and leave
what
you in
like.
peace.
Yep.
Yes. Shall we start straight away with what we need then? Of course.
We're going to need the bozal. Now
this always sells out.
Okay, you get a piece this big.
Yes.
Right, so you hang on to that end.
And it's iron on.
It's iron on, and if you need to join it together, you just join it together with a zigzag.
So your scrap pieces.
So every scrap, I mean, some of the pieces, because I only had a couple of samples to make all the bags with, I was really joining little bits I cut off.
That's good.
It's still fusible, just make sure you get the right side together.
Yeah.
The side you fuse is what looks like a sort of stocking net on it. It's a darker cream, and this is glue. So you iron your stuff on, and it stays.
And do we iron it from this way, or do we put our fabric on and iron on the fabric?
You iron it on top, and you iron it on that, because if you iron it from this side, because it's heat resistant, nothing happens.
Right.
So for table mats, it's fantastic.
It's fabulous.
It's a great product for bags because it's rigid, it's stiff, and yet it's soft and squidgy at the same time.
And then you can, and it's washable as well.
It's
so even when
washable.
you sew it into your bag,
You
or
can
if
then
you're making
sleeve in the washing machine.
your placemats.
And you can screw it up as much as you like, and it doesn't get creased because it's sort of unsquashed.
Right, I can order this now because I'm going to order it early. It's very, very busy already because I always miss out on this. So
I know, it always sells out, apparently.
So already approaching 10% of the stock is sold out. 355071. I'm going to order this hastily. And then, of course, we need our 15... That's the rule that we need.
Well, the reason why I wanted to use this is it's cushion size. Many people out there want to make quick cushions. You've got some fabric, you haven't got a big enough square. This is cushion size. It's 15.5 inches, so by the time you stitch round the edge, it'll take a 15-inch pad a treat. You want it slightly fuller, then stick a 16-inch pad in.
Yeah.
But this is a very, very useful square. We've had it on the show occasionally, and it sells out every time because they just don't load enough of them. So 15.5 inches, you can do all the squares up to 15.5.
I need this one as well. 274753.
Bung it on the fabric, round
Georgina,
it, got
magic
it.
hands. 274753. A great price there, £18.89 if you're in the Create and Craft Club. That's perfect, isn't it? And the other perfect is our Star and Geese patchwork ruler.
This I think is a new one to us.
Yes.
We haven't had this one on before. It's the So Easy Star and Geese. Now, when you take the label off, you get instructions on how you use it. Now, technically, it's used for making what are known as flying geese. because that template does both the middle section and the side sections.
Oh, I see, yes, yeah.
I decided I wanted
brilliant.
to have it on the show because if you want a template to do your flying geese, this one will do it for you. And I've used it on the pink bag for making the cotton reel section here.
Oh, right, okay.
Now, it is a good template because it does the flying geese. And the way that it does the flying geese is the red lines do the actual red part of the geese, the main part, the goose itself. And the black section does the other end, the sky. And it is marked on it. But it only does it at half-inch increments.
Right.
If you wanted to have a tool that would do slightly more increments, then we have that in another bundle.
Fab. I love it. And again, a new one today for us. That's your acrylic star and geese. If you do want to go for that, details on the screen there, 372750. And then swiftly we'll move on to, now I have I have both of these.
Right.
I have the hearts, which are really useful, and I also have the companion angle. Shall we start with the companion angle first?
Well, the companion angle you can also use for doing this design here. Now, this is very similar to the goose part of the previous template, but its plus point is it has extra measurements.
Right.
So you have a greater choice of sizes.
Okay, so we're going
either
from...
template can be used,
Right.
but you've got all the 1/4 inches and the
Yes.
1/2 inches marked on there, whereas you
Very
haven't
good.
on the other one.
Right.
So, you know, it's horses for courses. You either have more measurements and just doing a 1/4 square, or you have the other one with less measurements, therefore less versatility, but you get the other end as well.
Absolutely. And if you're looking at that fabric, that's on the show as well. And then, of course, we've got the
heart.
very, very useful heart template
Which I've used
there as
on
well.
this bag and indeed also put on the back as an applique.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
And I filled in the hole. I cut out 2 hearts, one
Yeah.
bigger than the other, used the outside on here and just laid a piece of fabric underneath
That's
it.
nice. Yeah, absolutely. A really great one to go for. Smash hit price there as well. It should be just under £32. It is just £26.09 if you're in the Create and Craft Club. Then we move on to the fabrics now.
Yes.
So we love these fabrics. So this is our 6 fat quarters made up. So that's one of your fat quarters that you're going to get in the collection, which is really beautiful, lovely sort of patchwork. And then
there's
your
the starry
stars, that's another one of your
It's
fat
also on the back there, the
quarters.
stars.
And that's your stars. And then on the inside, you've got all your teddies and rocking horses there, all your soft toys. That's 3 of your fat quarters.
And then, actually, I don't think I have used the other one.
And then you've got your
Number 4.
your polka dot there. I don't think you've used them all. And then you've got the gingham stripes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And there is another one.
And there is another one.
The other one is a very similar one to the starry one. It's a light one. They're such pretty fabrics. And again,
Absolutely
the
lovely.
Bozel stuff was used for both this bag
that's
and
how lovely
that
that
bag.
is.
And I use my zip technique along the top here so that you've got a very easy bag to make up. Dead simple. I haven't yet stitched the handles on, but it's good.
Your fat quarters will make both bags, and you'll still have more left. I mean, we've only used 5 of the fat quarters, so £8.99. You'll be able to make both of these. Grab my Bozel very quickly because I hear it's running out of the door. It really is. Let's talk about the sew fabric because that's the one that we used on the bag.
That's what I used on this
there.
bag. Okay. So there's your sew fabrics on there and the various ones on the insides. And now to make this bag, you really need 9 fat quarters.
9, okay.
So you buy 2 lots
sets.
of the teddies,
Yeah.
2 lots of those, 2 lots of the Tuscany.
Lovely.
You can do it with 6, but you'd have to substitute other fabrics for, say, the lining.
Lining. Well, absolutely. Maybe you've got some white, plain white fabric at
on
home.
the inside.
But ideally, you'd go for 2 sets of your fat quarters if you want the complete look.
Simply because of the way you're using the fabric to line it, etc., etc. And if you want your lining to be the same on both sides, because this is a 15.5-inch square, you're going to need 2 fat quarters, 1 for one side, 1 for the other side.
Lovely. And don't forget with that bag, you do need that 15.5-inch rule that we've got there. But 338724 is the item number there if you want to go for that, just £8.99. For the second bag now, we've got the Tuscany. Now, this is always popular. It really is incredible. 10% of the stock is already gone.
I like this
Yeah,
fabric.
it's really fun.
And again, you need 9. If you want to have the insides of your lining of the bag the same, you'll need 2 sets because you're going to use 2 of those.
Yeah.
It's a good price. It means that the bag, and you're never going to want another bag.
No.
This is a bag for life.
For life, yeah.
It's such a solid, such a robust bag.
I think it's a great bag for holidays as well, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
really nice.
you can take it probably on the plane because you can make the thing deeper.
Yeah.
It'll be nice and solid, and it'll protect everything on it. If you made it deeper, it will then fit in as a carry-on bag.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. 353373 is the item number there, just £8.99 there. That's for your Tuscany. And then, of course, we've got our Jenny's books. So we've got Foldy Roldy, Patchwork Pizzazz.
Right. And the reason why that's there is I use that design there, the trumpet cracker, to make up the front of this one.
Right.
Because I like the texturalness of this, I wanted tactile texture bits around there.
Yeah. And is that, so all of those...
trumpet cracker is in here. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. It's gone past it now. Trumpet cracker is... Yeah, there it is. Okay. So I just used two colours there. And that's the design.
Fantastic. And there's so much in this book. All of your hints and tips, all of your techniques, always very, very... always, I won't look at that one. Always very,
that was how you smuggle extra books on the aircraft.
I see. Always very, very popular. 275978 is the item number there if you want to go for that one. Just £13.49. Then, of course, by Karen Hallaby, well, we know...
Well, if you've got the Flying Goose template, you might want to know what to do with the Flying Goose.
Yes.
And in that book, you could use this template to help cut out these pieces, make it much more easy for yourself. And, of course, change the sizes, because she only gives one size in there, but if you had this one, you could then alter the sizes and do what you like. Use all her interesting techniques and have it how you happen to want it to be.
Absolutely, really guiding you through all of your projects there as well. Nice and easy, bright diagrams so that you're not going to be confused at all. You've got all your templates in there as well.
My favourite one, the champagne glasses, I like that. And that's where that template is particularly good, because you don't waste fabric, because you can make up the bits individually.
It's a really incredible one to go for. 343246 is the item number there. £16.19. And then your all-important Bonder Web. This always sells out.
You need that to stick on things. You need Bonder Web.
You just need it. Just grab it. You have got to be so quick for this. This goes time and time again. Let's give you the details for your Bonder Web there. And if you do want to multi-order, of course you can. £2.79, £2.51 if you are in the Crate and Craft Club. And a decent size there. So for all of your applications, you have got everything that you need. And again, just snip into it and use it as and when.
Draw on it, trace on it, you can do what you like with it.
Absolutely, but what I would do is multi-buy on that one, because it always sells out. 269688. And then, of course, your iron-on interfacing. And don't forget, with your iron-on interfacing, perfect for your cuffs and your collars. And
you need reinforcing fabrics. Because if you're using a thin fabric for the bag, then you want to put some iron-on interfacing on it just to make it a little bit, particularly on the lining. So that's there as a jolly good reinforcer.
And again, I would multi-buy on this. 192157, just £2.69. And then, of course, we've got our bias maker. So I like the 2.5 centimetre. The size that we've got here.
Well, it uses 1 inch, you see. So if you're going to put a binding on, you can run your binding through it very simply, and it makes this size of binding. You can open the binding up, stitch it on in the crease, fold it up and over the edge, and then you can hand apply it, or if you must, machine apply it over the other side. So that is just an easy way of creating bias binding, and then you can use your own fabric.
But also good, even if you're not a quilter, but a great one to use for your dressmaking.
Curtains.
Bunting as well, if you really want to make professional bunting.
Just lay bunting in down there and whack that over that. And it's already pressed for you. Just feed it through, pull it up the other end. And the nice thing about that one is you can also feed a thin bit of Bonder Web through and make this fusible. So if you want to stick it onto something, like stick your bunting in, because if you put fusible on here, you could just put your bunting there, fold it over and iron it. No more sewing.
That's a good idea. A really useful one to have in your stash. £8.09, 269091. Don't forget, we've also got the magnetic clasps as well on the show for you. Do go for that if you want to use that for your bags. 192142 is the item number to quote there. £2.69 is the price. This is in the antique gold. And then, of course, another one of my tools that I have, and that I think is an important one to have.
The ruler.
It's the ruler.
Without the ruler.
You've got to have that ruler. And again, not only are you going to get that Easy Rule 2, that's up to 24 inches there, 24 by 6.5. You're also going to get your Easy Angle as well.
This is the 10.5-inch one.
Yes.
So this is great for jelly rolls for the first section, and right up to 10.5 inches, so you can do any size of half-square triangle and the increments in between up to 10.5 inches from 2.5.
fab. You just get this. I mean, this is an amazing smash hit price. This should be just under £36. Look at that saving there, £30 and 59 pence. Brilliant. 273976, and then this.
If you've got rulers and you ain't got one of those, you have to have one of these.
And the nice thing about this collection, it also comes with the handy desk tidy, if you like.
You can put your pens, your pencils.
Because in there you have got the little pen holder, if you like, in there.
Which is removable, so if you don't want to have it in there, you can take it out.
And one of mine, I take that out, and the other one, it's in.
And then you simply put your things in there, stand it up, and then when you want to go, you can unclip it. We've got this stuck together for some reason. And then flatten it out, or we haven't. And it is literally a cubby.
That's it. It really is a useful one to have. And it doesn't always come with the mat and the rotary cutter. Yes, you can. You can have it flat on your desk, flat on your work surface. You're going to get the 45mm rotary cutter with a blade in there, but you'll also get an extra blade. And I will say, once your blade is bluntish, if it's not cutting the fabric, change it, but also use that blade for your papers, because don't forget you can use this if you're a paper crafter as well. And of course you do get that mat as well. You've got centimetres on one side, inches on the others. I cannot believe it, at £23 and 39 pence. 327559 is the item number to quote for that one. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I've got 5 of these mats. One I use as a messy mat.
Right. So you've got mess all over it?
Yes, I've got mess all over it. So that's my messy mat if I'm doing painting and things like that.
Because then you can size up any pages and cut it like that.
Absolutely. And two sets that I bought came with this, but the rest didn't.
No.
So this is
added extra.
Absolutely. So everything is there. You remember, you can dive on the website and you can fill your boots. A very, very busy show. I'm going to leave Jenny to it.
Hang on 2 seconds.
No, wait.
Don't go yet, because I've got to talk about
these. Hold on. Yes.
Please.
We talked about this the other week.
Yes.
But
OK. Right.
If you miss
quilts
that,
are here.
They are fab.
So, girls and boys out there, all your blocks are here. All right.
And well done,
everyone. And Beth Peake, who made also the top I'm wearing with the lovely embroidery on the front, has embroidered everybody's names.
That's great.
And there'll be 2 of these, Jackie, and they will go on the back. I've yet to put it on the back, so there are everybody's names for one of the quilts with the motif in the middle there.
Oh, that's
And we go from 6 years old to Roz, who's 95 years young.
6 years old.
On the front will go the Dear Jane and Dear Jenny quilt project. Now, very briefly, what I'm going to ask people to do, and I think this is the best, this is not a bed quilt. This has to be enjoyed by a lot of people, both of them. So I'm going to ask anybody who's put a block in to send in the name of a hospital, a school, a hospice, any educational institution that would like to have this on the wall.
That's a great idea.
They've got to check that the institution will have it on the wall.
Yes.
It can go and hang on the wall, then people who are poorly or children or adults or anyone like that can enjoy looking at the wonderful shapes, because it can't go on a bed, it'll be too heavy, and some of the fabrics won't wash.
That's right. But this is definitely a wall hanging
It's a wall hanging quilt. This will go on the back, and we're going to see if we can get it hung somewhere where you can see the front and the back, which will
so
be
you can
lovely.
see everyone's names.
So ask your school, your college, your hospice, your hospital, see if you can find somewhere, send us that, and perhaps September time we'll then draw the names out of a hat when we've gathered them all together, and 2 people will have this to go and hang.
I think that's a really great idea. A hospice, hospital, maybe a children's home.
Yes, children's home. Fantastic. I mean, look at the shapes. Come on, little Johnny. Can you see a doggy? Look, there's a doggy. So I feel that's the best thing, and thank you all for
I just think that's incredible. So we've got the Scotty dog, so all of the fabrics, and most of these fabrics, I will say, we've had here and on Create and Craft. There you go. I mean, so both of the quilts here. 225 Create and Craft TV viewers.
More
than 225. So thank you so much. I think it's absolutely brilliant, really stunning, and thank you to everyone who took part and donated and made their blocks there for this fantastic quilt. But as Jenny says, find out maybe a local hospice, a hospital, children's home, children's ward.
Anything.
You know,
where it can go on the wall.
Be an elderly care home.
That would be wonderful.
That would be wonderful.
Because it would remind them of shapes and patterns and colour.
I think it's a really brilliant idea. Do send your suggestions in, that would be lovely. OK, I am now going to leave Jenny to it. Magic Hands, have you written down my orders? My item numbers?
Yes.
Because...
I'm going.
Right. OK, I've just been told, once again, I've missed... What? Hold on.
You haven't missed out on it already?
Yeah, I have. It's sold out. Yeah. No. And my square ruler has sold out. Don't laugh, Jenny.
Sorry.
Well, well done. Well done if you got hold of that.
Well, now they need to know what to do with it, don't they?
Yeah. Okay then. All right then. See you then.
Okie dokie. Right. Morning, everybody. Okay, the Quilting Classroom, there is a PDF for this. And do sort of slightly excuse the appearance. There's been an awful lot of running around. And thank you, Burnley, for hosting me yesterday and the day before. We had a great time with the bottom drawer quilters. Thank you. Quilting Classroom. All the words, and I'm fairly certain that this time, for once, they're fairly accurate, are in your PDF. Now, it was the Bosal inner form that I came across. And this stuff is wonderful for bag making. It has, as we've already discussed, the press, the iron-on surface here, which is sort of slightly like a stockinette and is a darker cream. This has no fusible on it, so you will not get anywhere by ironing this side. This is the side that has the fusible, so please don't take the iron and plonk the iron on the fusible side because it will stick to it. And when you are ironing, be a little bit careful to make sure your fabric fits the entire thing, because if you get this on the iron, it will make a sticky bottom to your iron, and that can be difficult, and we don't want a sticky bottom, do we? Now, when it comes to making the bag, what it will pay you to do is to get one continuous piece for the handle to begin with. So I cut off right the way along 58 inches of 2 1/4 up to 2 1/2. The choice is yours, of one strip right the way along the entire piece. From the remainder of the piece, I then cut out the various different sizes that I wanted. And I will need, or you will need rather, 2 15.5-inch squares of fabric if you want to make the bag the size that I did, which is why having that ruler made life so remarkably easy. So literally, one was able to plonk this on the inner form, cut round it, and you've got the sides of the bag. So you'll need 2 of those. You'll also need a 12.5-inch square. Now, before you panic and think, oh, I haven't got a 12.5-inch ruler, the way that you can use this to cut a 12.5-inch square, let me move everything out the way, really could do with a studio, 3 times the size for this particular bag, is if you take the inner form and open it out, you will have cut your strip off the top there. I want a 12.5-inch square, and I can use this ruler for any size of square from 1/4 of an inch, which will be a little silly, up to 12.5 inches. So if you bring the ruler in, now I'm right-handed, so I've got my fabric really on the right. Ruler's coming in from the left. Bring it in so 12.5 is there, arrange it so 12.5 is down the bottom there. So I'm now covering up a 12.5-inch square. Find your rotary cutter, hidden underneath all that, cut up the edge and cut along the top there. Oops, David's slipping in my zeal. Once you've cut the square out, then you want to have your 2 15.5s and you'll have your strip. You won't need anything else other than a very small piece to make up the little tab. If you were fortunate and bought 2 of those, you'd have been able to make 2 bags and also another smaller bag. So this square will do any size of square. 2 15.5s, 1 12.5. Let me pop it out the way there. Right, I'm just going to dispose of this on the floor for the moment. Now, the pink bag, I decided I would use some form of patchwork. And because it's fabric called sewing, just sewing, I decided I thought that a cotton reel design might be quite good. And of course, I love to sew the heart. Oh, all right, yes, I know it's a bit cheesy, but I do like hearts. And of course, you could use hearts on the other side if you so desired. Now, to make up this particular design here, this is where you could use either the companion angle or you can use the flying goose. And to use the flying goose or the companion angle, you will need a series of strips. The first strip you'll want will be a 2.5-inch wide piece of fabric. And I cut this out of the spot. And having got your 2.5-inch wide piece of fabric, let's remove that, take either the companion angle or this one and literally lay it onto the fabric. Flat end of the ruler to the top of the fabric, you'll see it says 2.5 inches on there, and all you're going to do is cut up one side and then flip the fabric over, replace the template and cut again. And you'll need to cut 8 of these because of the way the design works. So when you've done the first one, you can simply flip the fabric over, put it on and cut. So we're going to want 8 shapes like that, all in the same colour. Then to make the next section of it, you will want a 1.5-inch strip. And the 1.5 inch strip is going to be used with the template. So you're going to put the template on so it looks something like this. It'll be lined up with, I put my hand underneath it, the 6 inch mark on here. And the same thing will occur on the companion angle. It will be lined up with the 6 on the companion angle. So the companion angle, you'll use 2.5 for the first bit, and then you're going to line up the lower edge of the fabric with the 6. So let's pop that on there, the 6. And that will make a sort of wedge shape. And you will want 4 in one colour and 4 in another colour. What will happen then is we will sew together this top triangle and a wedge shape. Pop them on the top there, put your pins in, and a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down the edge. So it'll look something like that when you've done. Once you've done that seaming, I personally prefer to press my seams open and flat, simply because I don't really like the ridge that you can get. And of course, we've done many times before the Clover mini iron, which I'm fairly certain you'll find on the website if we've got it in stock, and if we're not, you wait again, it'll come back. That is jolly good for pressing the back seam open and flat. You will want to construct 4 pieces like that and 4 pieces using the second colour, so they look like this. And the cotton reels were made up by taking 2 of those and 2 of those and literally sewing them together. And I would put them together by stitching these 2 together. Now, the nice thing about this particular design is that this edge is on the bias, so you can always do what is known as ease it. All right, it's a patchwork term for stretch it. Ease it into place so we can line up those seams. So sew the block together by sewing 2 halves together to make 1 half the block, 2 halves together to make the other half of the block, and then join the entire thing in the centre. And with luck, and we'll have a giveaway, somebody can win all these pieces, you'll end up with a block that looks like this. Repeat and make another one. And then I laid the design out, so I had 1 of these in each of the corners, and another square, a 6.5 inch square, went to complete the block. So the block would end up as a 12.5 inch block, raw edge to raw edge. And of course my big 15.5 inch square could easily be used to cut out a 6.5 inch one. So you have no problem. If you've only got the square, you can still cut everything out from it. Once you've got the various pieces together, what I decided would be a good idea would be to put a heart, because I love sewing. And the heart template can be used for doing that. Just let me get the heart template from over here. Now, when it comes to doing the heart, what I thought of is that if I take some of the Bonder web and I drew a line on the Bonder web, popped the heart on top, drew 1 heart shape and another heart shape, flipped the template over, repeated on the other side, I could then cut out the centre heart, which I can bond in place, as I've got on here, and use the outer heart to go on the back of the bag. And all I did with the outer heart was took the outer heart shape and indeed another piece of fabric, laid a piece of fabric down which didn't have to have Bonder web on it, put the heart on the top, stuck it in place and bonded it on. Which meant that this, as it wasn't stuck down, if I'd wanted to, I could actually trapuntoed it and put some wadding underneath and had a padded middle. So you could play with that effect. The heart template is really useful for just adding that little bit of extra embellishment. Once you've got the front section done, you'll then need to iron it to, I'll have to pick it up on the floor because it's fallen on the floor, to iron it to the front of the 12.5 inch section. So here would be the 12.5 inch section. My block fits it a treat. If for some reason your block and the piece of inner form didn't quite fit, well, you could trim the inner form to fit the block or trim the block to fit the inner form. It is going to have to be the same size. Now that's how you construct the cotton reels and add the hearts. The hearts would go there. What I'm going to show you next is the blue one and yellow one I used, using, pop those out the way there, using the, where's it gone to? There is that. Just talk amongst yourselves while I find it. Where's my pieces gone to? Ah! There they are. It's all this moving all these things around. Why I need a studio about 10 times the size. So here I have bonded on to the front of my inner form the design called Trumpet Cracker from my book. And having bonded it on, it really does fit. And the bonding is as easy as this. Take your iron and just iron it on. It's not a good idea to do it on the cutting mat, but this is heat resistant, so it doesn't come through. So just iron it in place. Once you've ironed it to the front of the inner form, you're going to need another piece of fabric, a lining. And I thought to myself, when I stitch the lining on, I'm going to have a sort of ridge where the inner form will stick into the seam. And it occurred to me that, of course, I could utilise that ridge to make it look like mock piping. So the lining of the pocket was created by cutting a piece of material the same width as the pocket, i.e. 12.5 inches, and about 1.5 inches or so longer. More is always a little bit better. Stitch the two on and literally underneath the sewing machine and just sew along the top edge. When you stitch the two pieces together, take the lining, take it up and over and put it to the back. And when you do that, of course, because the inner form is stiff, it's going to give you a little edging down the top. I would then suggest that you pin the layers together well, making sure they all fit nicely. Remember, this is not fusible. This is unfused, so you can't iron it on and expect it to stick. What my suggestion would be to pin it in place and then to stitch from this side with a really long stitch all the way around the edge just to hold the thing together. Right, I'm not going to worry about doing that because I think you can probably see how that is done. If we now return to one of the 15.5 inch squares and you want to have it with the glue side up, the fusible side up, take a piece of fabric. And you can see I've been to run out of pieces of fabric. I had to piece mine together. And bond a piece of fabric that is the length, i.e. 15.5 inches by 12.5 inches wide. You can have it a little wider if you want, but bond it down. So iron and bond it on. Once it's been bonded on, and you will press it more carefully than that, take the pocket and place the pocket on the top. Now on the blue bag, I had the pocket to one side. On the pink bag, I decided it was actually easier if you have the pocket in the middle. So I would shift this piece of fabric to the centre, all right, rather than have it to one side. But on the blue one, which is the demonstration I'm showing you at the moment, I had the blue pocket to one side of the bag. But this did make it a bit thick down the edge here when you came to do the binding. So on the pink version, I shifted the pocket into the centre a bit. So this simply means take this piece of fabric off and move it to the centre. Lay the pocket on top, and then you would want to add a strip of fabric down both sides. Because my pocket is off centre, I then took a strip of fabric, stitched it on, right sides together, opened it out, flipped it back, and then ironed it all in place. At that stage, I suggest you then baste, tack, call it what you will, round the entire edge, just to make certain you've held this in place and it's all nice and firm. So that was making up the front. When it came to making up the back of the blue bag, I simply ironed that wonderful sunflower fabric to the other side of the other 15.5 inch square. So you've got the two outsides of the bag here, and you've got your pocket already attached. Let's look at how you do the zip. Well, the zip caused me a lot of angst and worry, because I'm not a dressmaker. You've seen this before, I'm not a dressmaker. Incidentally, this was made by Beth Peake, and it's a really super pinny, and it's got I love to quilt on it and the happy twiddler on the pocket, you see, because I like doing twiddling. There we go. Thank you, Beth. Now, when it came to putting a zip in, this required quite a lot of miles on the exercise bike and thinking about how on earth I was going to do it. And the strategy I've come up with is this. You will want a piece of fabric that is the width of your bag, i.e. 15.5 inches, by about 17.5 inches long. The length is not exactly necessary. I was going to say it's immaterial, but that's a sort of silly pun. Right, so there would be your piece of fabric, 15.5 inches wide by about 17 inches long, or the length of the fat quarter. Split it so you're cutting about a 4 to 5 inch strip off it. You'll need for the pocket, and I used calico for this because the pocket was going to be on the inside and I didn't see why I was going to waste a really nice fat quarter. But of course you could use a fat quarter for the pocket if you chose. The pocket needs to be the same width as the bag, i.e. in my case 15.5 inches, and I had it about 10 inches long. Deliberately, I chose a zip that was bigger than I needed, and I'm using one of the plastic zips, not the metal one. We have got zips on the website if you have a look. So this was a 45 centimetre zip. How it gets joined together is you take the short piece, lay your zip head down, right side of zip to fabric, take one piece of the lining and put it on top. Then you'll need to go to the sewing machine and put your zipper foot on. You could do this by hand if you so desired, but you don't have to. You can do it on the sewing machine. Right, pin it. And then we're going to put the zip foot on the sewing machine. Now I'm using the Singer Scarlett, which is a really nice little machine, and in its feet you will find there is a zipper foot. She's waffling slightly because she's pinning everything together. Right. So to change the foot on the machine, if you simply press the little button at the back here, take the foot off, and then find the zip foot. The zip foot goes on so that the zip foot is on the right-hand side of the machine and the needle is on the outside. Make sure you're in straight stitch mode. I was in a fancy pattern earlier. Let's go through the system. And you will have your stitch length at the right stitch length. I'm just going to make mine longer simply because I want to do this fairly fast. Taking the zip, you're going to sew along, starting on the outside here, and you want to get really close to the zip. Don't sew through the zip, but nice and close to it. Removing the pins as you go. And because the zip is longer, the zip head sticks out the end, and of course I haven't got any ghastly problems with coping with that. To the end there, and then onto your thread saver, and cut. So what I have done here is I've attached the top section and one part of the pocket. Flip these out the way, and it does pay sometimes to pin them out the way so they cannot possibly get caught in the next seam. So flip them out the way. Take the remaining two pieces of it. Now do bear in mind, you dressmakers out there saying, oh no, you don't do it like that. Listen, it worked. And put one piece behind and one piece on top. So we're doing the same sandwiching of the zip between the two pieces of fabric. And a pin in there, and a pin in there. Just quickly do it. You, of course, will do it much more carefully than this because you won't have to do it live on the television, having driven X amount of miles early this morning. Right, stuff it underneath there, and again, sew along. I will confess I always do this slightly with my heart in my mouth, thinking, have I got the pieces the right way up? All these projects that I present you to the Quilting Classroom are very often practiced very little. So forgive me if I got things horribly wrong. Right, get to the end, and find my thread saver, stick it under there, and cut. So I've now added the zip to both sides. What you can do then, if you wish to top stitch the zip in, do make certain that when you do the top stitching, that you fold for the top part the lining inside, the pocket lining, and top stitch there. And then just make very certain that when you do the other half, you only do one part of the, getting fingers in the muddle, that, so you top stitch along there. I did the top stitching on this particular piece just because I felt it looked nicer. But you don't have to. All that will happen then is the two pieces of lining that make the pocket will lie together, and you will need to sew along the bottom edge, because if you don't, you won't have a bottom to your pocket and everything will fall through. You needn't worry about the sides. You can tack those in place or base them, call it what you will, if you so desire. So you will end up with the zip inserted into the back of the lining for the bag. Now, take the back of the bag, take the zip lining, put it on the top here, and you will stitch all the way along that edge. And let me just whack along there quickly. So to change the foot on this machine, take that out, change the foot. So we've got the zip in, we've got our pocket made, and we're going to attach this piece all the way along there, like that. Your seam allowance is irrelevant. Whatever the depth of seam allowance you take, it would be nice if it matched the one on the front. Then at least your bindings or your pipings would line up. And you can see how easily this stuff feeds through the machine. Also sweeps everything before it. There we are. And cut. And the same thing happens again as we've done before. Simply fold back the top fabric to the back, pin it in place, and you've made the back of the bag. And again, it's got a neat little piping. Don't worry about where the zip sticks out. That'll all get cut off in the end. Before you go any further, though, it will pay you to open the zip before you pin these layers together and tack round the edge. Please open the zip, because it's awfully hard to open it if you left the zip sticking out here, as I did, and couldn't open it. Yes, you may all laugh. Here I've got a pink version where I've done a sort of smaller sample, because it's really getting rather large, having 15.5-inch squares. So here is the back of the pink section. Here is the zip. As I've just explained, stitch the zip on the back, stitch it along there, flop it over to the other side. When you've done that, it will pay you to stitch along here, and up there, remembering the zip head wants to come in. So there is the back of the bag. Here is the front of the bag. Now, this little stage sample does not have a pocket on it, but it has got a tab. And it's worth adding the tab before you put the back lining on the main piece. So here is the front of your bag, i.e. here is this piece, and it's at this stage where you want to add your tab. To make the tab, all I did was I took a 2.5-inch by 4-inch piece of inner form, 2 pieces of fabric, put the 2 pieces of fabric right sides together. I appear to have lost one, but never mind. And then sew round the edge on 3 sides. Slightly roundy corner at the bottom there, you can probably see it more clearly on this. And then trim back any inner form so you really cut it back nice and fine. Turn the little tab through the hole, and then I added a piece of hook and loop fastener and added it on at the same time as I stitched round there. I stitched along the hook and loop fastener, back up the other side, and then just across there. This extra can just be trimmed off. Remember not to lose the other part of the hook and loop fastener. If you haven't got hook and loop fastener to hand or want a more professional bag, then use a magnetic snap. Without doubt, those magnetic snaps give a much, much more professional finish. Your tab needs to go down onto the front of the bag, or indeed the back, it doesn't really matter. Sorry, onto the back of the bag, not the front of the bag. Stitching it down so that the tab will go up and over. Think about it. You want to have the hook and loop fastener with this side up. Once you put it in place, then take the lining, stitch it on, flip it back and to the other side, and you'll end up with something that looks a bit like this. So we have one half of the bag with the tab, the other half of the bag that's got the lining on it, and you're going to put the 2 pieces together. When it comes to putting the 2 pieces together, you're going to need the handle. Well, it's not really a handle if I'm talking to Lynn, it's the sides of the bag. Let's move these pieces out of the way. Making up the sides of the bag, what you will want is you've taken your long 2-inch piece. Where's it gone to? There it is, 2.25-inch strip. You'll need to extend it by about another 12.5 inches. So one piece is 58 by 2.25, and then you want to add a bit on. And all I did when I added it on, I'm not certain which side you can see best, was I just zigzagged it together. So the length of the handle needs to be sufficient to go round the bag on 3 sides and have a bit left over. You've already got a 58-inch length cut, then just cut a little bit extra to make it the length that you want. I mean, if you've altered the size of the bag, you might well want to alter the size of the strap. Not really a strap, don't tell Lynn. And make that the size you want. But its measurement needs to be the dimensions of the bag plus a bit for going over your shoulder or whatever you choose to want. Right, what you will then do is to cut some fabric and bond fabric to the sticky side of the handle. Now, when it comes to joining the ends together, you could do it as simply as just bonding one down, taking the other end, folding one edge over, lying it on top of the previous one and just stitching across the gap. That would join the ends together very nicely. The inside of the strap will need another piece of fabric putting on it, and I tend to cut this a little bit longer. or a little bit wider rather, simply so that I can then trim it back to the edges of this. What I suggest you do then is exactly the same thing when it comes to joining it. Leave two ends that can be overlapped, fold the top piece over and simply stitch it straight across there. At that stage this can all get tacked in place. Obviously you tack it in place before you do that little bit, and trim back the edges so it looks something like this. So here is our strap with fabric on both sides. Then you put the bag together. Where is the next stage? And here is putting the bag together. So let's take one of the pieces of the bag. Let's take that one. And the strap handle, call it what you will. First of all, make sure you get the right bits to the right side. So if that is the outside of the bag, make sure you get the outside to the outside. Take the edge of the strap and you're going to line it up with the edge of the bag. You could use the zipper foot to stitch it on with. I'm just going to use the regular foot as that happens to be on the sewing machine. My advice is you want to use a narrow seam allowance. So move your needle over. On this little machine, I'm going to take it right over. Drop your needle in to begin with, and you're going to set off sewing. If I just can get round to a corner. Down here. Now, when you get to a corner, what I suggest you do with the corner is to just snip the edges of the strap. Just snip it, because you want to go round the corner in a gentle arc, and by snipping it you'll be able to get round that corner. So just let me get round that corner. There we are. Round the corner, there we go. I won't go any further than that. So we've done a gentle arc on the corner, because you don't want to go into the corner, because then you get a rather nasty sort of pointy bit. You will repeat the same on the other side, and it's going to end up looking something like this. So strap goes down here, roundy, 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 up to there. Now, I then found when I made my second bag, it was actually easier at this stage to bind it. And you can do the binding in two ways. You could use the binding with the clover bias tape maker, or you could use the double binding technique, where you cut a strip 2¼ inches wide, fold it in half. Remember, this strip has to be on the bias, which is why that ruler is so good, because this ruler has the bias line on it for cutting the bias. We've cut the bias many times on the Quilting Classroom, but just as a heads up, remember you put the ruler so the bias line goes down the side of the fabric or along the top, and then cut up the edge of the ruler. I found it easiest to bind it at this stage. And when you come to do the binding, you're going to put the binding on, stitch the binding round. Let me just put a little bit on here so you can see how it works. So binding goes on, and again use a narrow seam allowance. The reason being is you've got quite a large thickness of fabric to get the binding over. So let's just do a little bit down here, and then you'll take it round the corner. Once you've got your binding on, then it is a question of turning it over to the other side, and then a terrible word has to be used: hand sewing. I personally prefer to hand sew this, and I actually did sit down and hand sewed it, but I only hand sewed it the bits where it was on the bag. Where it went over across on the handle, I did machine it. Let me show you. So this was actually machined. If I hold it still here, I machined the binding down, and then one of my other students, because I practice this on my students, not terribly well, I confess, I think it's been a slightly better demo, is suggested a curved needle. So you could try a curved needle when stitching the binding over. So going back to this one, my advice is put one side on, bind it. Then all you do then is you take the other half of the bag, where is it? There it is. Make sure you get the right bits together, put these two bits together, stitch that on, and when you sew it on, you can cut these pieces off, and that will give you the other side of the bag. So it's not terribly difficult to do. Let me just demonstrate it a little bit. So pop it under there, stick it underneath the sewing machine, and sew across. I would be inclined to sew across the zip. If you've got a plastic zip in there, you can. If you're using a metal zip in there, this should be word of, just don't do this, because you will break the needle. So sew very carefully over the zip. and then make certain you fit it on the corners there, and so round. So the machine will happily put the edging on to take it round the entire way. And I've just realised, of course, if I'd been more sensible, I'd have done it this way up, because it would have been much easier to actually see it when it's done. This thing can then be cut off, and then you can bind the edge of that one. And that will give you a really, really neat bag. So here we have the bag. The pink one has its pocket in the centre, which slightly took out of having an extra thickness down the side. Pocket on the front, bound all the way round using that word hand stitching. There is it on the back with your heart, which of course you could stuff. Here is your tab, which could have gone on the front or on the back. The choice is yours. The magnetic snap does give you a much more professional effect. And that bag, I can assure you, is literally a bag for life. And here is the blue one, to show you what the blue one looked again. This one I didn't put a tab on, but inside is that zipped up pocket, which when you open it up, there is, wrestle with it, your pocket inside there. So you can go off shopping, pop that over your shoulder, get at the pocket if you want to. You could, of course, make other pockets in there. There it is to put things in, and that really is a most comfortable bag. It doesn't dig into your shoulder. It's a nice, easy, simple bag, and Jackie can come back now, if you stop talking in the corner there, and explain to you all the things that we've got on the show. I better put back the stuff I borrowed. And once more, read the Dear Jane quilt. Thank you all so much for what you did. It's been a pleasure to put them together. I just am so sorry I haven't had quite the time to actually finish them off. Jackie, come back and join me. Come and look at my mess.
You messy pup.
I'm a messy pup, yes.
Okay, how was that? That was great, wasn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely fabulous.
Well, it was nearly right, nearly right. There were a few wrong bits.
There's
I
never
noticed, and some
anything
bits you would have
wrong
noticed.
when
Yes.
it comes to crafting. Nothing is wrong. And by the way, the Tuscany, the fat quarters there, limited stock now, so well done. Remember, if you want to make the bag, you need 2 sets.
Yes.
Really, that's the best thing, is to get 2 sets there.
We'll make 2 bags, get 3 sets. You won't have any waste.
Oh, yeah, get 3 sets. You can make 2 bags. That's a good idea. 353373 is the item number there. Now, the sew fabrics there, those gorgeous pink tones, 75% of the stock here has now sold out. Once again, if you do want to make that fabulous bag, you just saw Jenny demonstrating there, you will need 2 sets. But as Jenny says, why not get 3 sets? Then you can make 2 bags. Because you basically need 9 fat quarter pieces. 338724, but please be quick for this. 75% of the stock
and we'll
has
give
now
that
sold
away
out.
to anyone who sends in an email.
Oh, that's lovely. That's a giveaway. Don't forget your teddy fabric.
You see, and look, that was how I did that
beautiful.
zip. So all that was the same zip technique. Where is
was that the
zip?
same?
It's exactly the same technique as doing this here. Let me just pull that off the front there. Just talk amongst yourselves while I yank it off.
Can I just show everyone the bag? So all the fabrics. So that's one of the fabrics. The stars there is one of the other fabrics as well. I love that fabric on the lining there. That's another one of the fabrics. Again, I would get a couple of these. Then you've got the polka dot. That's one of the fabrics. Then you've got the gingham. That's one of the fabrics. And then you've got another fabric. So that's only 5 that we've used there. But really brilliant that we can make these
So how
two.
that one was done was I had 2 pieces the same size either side.
That's
2 bits of lining the same side either side.
Yeah.
In between these 2, I put a piece of the inner form there and a piece of the inner form there.
Okay.
So I had it stiffened either side.
Oh, right.
And then all I did then was fold it over like that and stitch.
Oh, that's great.
Because you could stitch so that you stitch the outside together and the lining together. And if you turn it right side out, you'll see there's still a hole in the bottom.
Yes.
And I did this bag by the method of cutting the corners square.
Yes,
which gave you a flat bottom.
That sugar bag bottom there.
Yep.
Okay, and that's what we absolutely love. And we love that we have the classroom. Don't forget, if there's any previous classrooms that you may have missed, have a look on the website, because...
And the next one will be in July the 3rd, I think.
July the 3rd, so put that in your diary. July the 3rd. Now, don't forget Jenny's book there that we've got on the show for you as well. Is your Foldy Rolly Patchwork Pizzazz. We're loving this book. You are loving this book. 275978, just £13 and 49 pence.
And there are some silly stories running through it.
They're great stories.
And they are true. I mean, cooking leaks in the hotel kettle. Yes, I did clean the kettle out.
Yes.
And the one about my skirt trapped in the hotel door, yes, I did get...
Oh, I saw that picture. I was like, what's Jenny doing there? There's some great
Add
stories.
to
And then that's how to smuggle your books in the departure lounge.
I shall go pink.
How to smuggle your books. You're so bad.
But it worked.
It worked, yeah. They didn't suspect anything. Of course they didn't. So 275978 is the item number there, just £13.49. Now, let's have a look at the quilt. Remember, those are the quilts that we, all of our gorgeous viewers that have sent in.
So this one's been done.
That's one as well. So over 225 of our fabulous Create and Craft viewers sent in their blocks. We've had blocks from 6-year-olds. We've had
up to 95-year-olds.
95-year-olds. So it really has
from
been
beginners,
a team effort.
from people who are absolute ace sewers. There is every single level of that in those quilts. So think about it.
Yeah.
Send in your suggestions.
Yeah.
Perhaps if they write to Laura here, she can pass it on, or you write to me.
Yes.
I put it out on social media so they can see where to write
nice,
to. And then we'll gather it together. I'll try and get it at Festival. I'll try and get it at Harrogate. And then in September sometime, when we have a classroom, then we will solemnly draw, because it's going to take me a wee while to finish that one off, and get those wonderful backings stitched in place.
Yeah, absolutely. So do send in your suggestions there. So let's give you a...
And someone can make up two of these.
Someone's going to get one of... Oh, loads of emails here. So someone's going to get all the goodies. And don't forget to send your suggestions to Jenny, maybe, or to our Facebook page.
Or wherever. Right, this is going to go to Wales.
However you can, send in your suggestions. Marion Aldridge in Wales, in Llangwynnin. Llangwynnin.
Yes, or something like that.
Yes.
Llangwynnin.
I hope so. So
you
well
can
done,
have those
Marion.
bits. One's put together, you've got enough, put another bit together, there might be a few odd pieces in there.
That's
so,
nice.
Marianne, enjoy.
Well done, Marianne. Don't forget you can still order after the hour on the website, all the www.createandcraft.tv. Jenny, you're back before the next classroom.
Yes, I'm back next Sunday.
Next Sunday?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, we've got a half-day deal. So Sunday, I've got 3 shows next Sunday.
Woo!
And a week in between.
Stop it. Jenny's back.